What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fight Out podcast with me. Apologies for not doing a prediction show last week. Was very under the weather, but what a card we had. As UK MMA fans, whoever's watching this, you'll know the struggle sometimes. Do a stay up, do I have a nap, do I watch it in the morning. This is one that, to be fair, I had a nap for the prelim card from 1 till about 3. Got up at 3 and done myself a coffee, stayed up, watched the full main card, and outstanding. Obviously, we'll dive in just a sec. With the predictions that I had, there was only one that let us down. It was Renato Moicano, which was devastating because he started well. I thought that he used to look very good in the first round as well, but I thought Moicano, potentially had a day to win after that first round, especially after knockdown, and then obviously Dariush just put a bit of a pace on him. But yeah, we'll dive in at the start of the main card. So the first fight on the main card was Peyton Talbot against Felipe Lima. Now, going into the fight, there was quite a lot of hype behind Felipe Lima. I was swaying towards Peyton Talbot myself. I thought it was one of those matches where he could definitely come back. I was quite torn on it. In the end, I did go with Peyton Talbot and he looked good. Come back, made improvements. Big statement, I think. Big statement win for the way that he fought, the grit he showed, and you can see how slick he is. You can see he's a slick striker. We knew that anyway, but after adversity, sometimes people don't come back the same. But we could see it there, so it was good to see. Next for him, it's probably still going to be unranked. It's not like he's blasted through, and now he's on the big stage. But I think start of the main card, good opening fight, good win for him. Get back in the win column and progress. Jumping next into the lightweight fight that I was very interested in, to be honest, because thinking about Paddy, obviously everyone who watches the show knows how much we like Paddy. But thinking about Paddy, I thought if Moicano wins, a Moicano v Paddy title eliminator would be a brilliant fight. Obviously Moicano didn't get the win, Beneil Dariush won. And I found myself at the time on the night asking myself, does Paddy fight that? Because obviously Paddy weren't there by accident. And, we'll get to the main event in a sec. But at first I was thinking, is he there because, the winner of that fight is going to be fighting him next, title eliminator, that kind of thing. Because I had a feeling that Gaethje was fighting for the title next after this, but Dana said otherwise. Dariush against Paddy, I don't know if that moves, I don't know where Dariush goes in the rankings. After winning against Moicano, and through no fault of his own, by the way, he looked amazing. Like, he really did look good. Even in that first round, it was quite close. Then Moicano dropped him, and I thought this is where Moicano was gonna, put the pressure on, start hitting him with big shots to open up the second round, and it was actually the opposite. Dariush come out and started hitting him with big shots and put a bit of a pace on him that Moicano couldn't keep up with. I think Rogan on the broadcast said Moicano in round 3 looked like his arms were gassed out from the grappling because he couldn't really throw a punch. It was weird. He literally was completely gassed out. He couldn't really do anything. And Dariush was looking not the freshest. At the end of the day, they were both 36, 37, but he looked a lot fresher than Moicano. But as is what's next for Dariush, I don't think it's Paddy. I don't think it's a title eliminator necessarily either. I think he's probably got another fight in there before he's even in that kind of picture. But big win for him to get back in the win column. The next fight was obviously the absolute barn burner, Joshua Van against Brandon Royval. I believe Dana paid both of them out the win bonus, even though obviously Royval didn't get the nod. Joshua Van going into it was obviously a favourite. And he's someone that I like, but I was very wary of the challenge of Brandon Royval because Royval is, he's top of the food chain at that weight. And the fight was very, very close. I had Joshua Van up anyway, going into the last, 20 seconds or whatever it was in fact, I think it was 10 seconds in the third round before he dropped him. I had him up 2-1. Very close fight. But what a way to call your shot, obviously. But, 3-4 weeks ago, he was nowhere near the title picture, nowhere near even, being ranked or anything like that. Then he comes in, gets a ranking, fight 3 weeks later against the number 1 contender, by the way, short notice, and credit to both of them for taking that, because it's easy for Brandon Royval to turn around and say, look, I'm not fighting him. He's on a tear. I'm number 1. I want to fight someone who's up here that if I win, I'm getting a title shot, because would a win over Joshua Van have give Brandon Royval a title shot? I don't know. But obviously a win over Brandon Royval gives Joshua Van a title shot, clearly, because he's in the octagon at the end, squaring off with Pantoja, and he looks like an absolute G. Now, obviously, this was a 3-round fight. I seen Rogan DC and that saying, it should have been 5-round fight. I know they keep a high pace anyway, but do they keep that pace if it's a 5-round fight? And can Joshua Van keep that pace over a 5-round fight? I don't know. Alexander Pantoja, he does, get a little bit fatigued, but he fights 5 rounds for fun. He's been in title fights now for that however many, I think it's 5 on the run. Obviously, he won it, and then he's had 4 defenses. He's used to training for 5 rounds. Is Joshua Van? I don't know. But it makes one hell of a fight coming up next. One very intriguing fight. And I like that at flyweight the way there's new challenges. There's new people dropping up. And even if Joshua Van doesn't win, he can go back, fight someone else. Maybe then Brandon Royval can beat someone, getting a title contention, that kind of stuff. I like flyweight. I like the division. I like the way they fight. And I like the way it's kept exciting. Obviously, the next fight on the card was Alexander Pantoja against Kai Kara-France. I'm going to be honest, going into it, I didn't really give Kai Kara-France a chance. I just thought Pantoja was too good. I thought Kai Kara-France, for obviously, he'll punch my head in. For as good as he is, I just didn't really give him a chance against Pantoja, because I feel like Pantoja is head and shoulders above everyone in that division going into it. After seeing the Joshua Van fight, obviously your interest is really peaked. I had a look as well, just going back to Van, at his Instagram followers. So literally directly after the fight, I went on Instagram just to check, and he was on 110k followers. Let's see what he's on now. So right now he's on 188. So he's nearly doubled his followers in 2 days. Well, a day basically, day and a half since that fight. So that gives testament to how good the fight was. How much now he is a fan favorite because of his style, because of the way he fought anyone, anytime, any notice, that kind of thing. But moving back to Pantoja, I thought he looked very good in the fight. For some reason, I had in my head that he finished him in round 2, but it was actually round 3. I'm going to put that down to tiredness. UK MMA fans will know it's not always easy staying up that late. It's definitely a challenge. But yeah, it was a really, really good fight. Once he had the back, he kind of felt like it was just a matter of time before it was over. Kai Kara-France was desperately defending, he was pulling his hand down while he was trying to lock it up. Just couldn't get there. It's no knock, in my opinion, on Kai Kara-France. It's just testament to how good Alexander Pantoja is, because any comer that he's fought, he's just made them look like they almost shouldn't be in there with him. That first round, he come out and he put a beating on Kai like he owed him money. He was just literally come out hell for leather, like a bat out of hell, like he had a point to prove, like he wanted to prove that Kai shouldn't. Like he wants to prove that Kai shouldn't have been there. Same thing he done with Kai Achikora, by the way. I think that was a first round finish winner, but he come out and just put a beating on him like he shouldn't have been there. He's done the same thing with Kai Kara-France. Maybe it's the name, maybe he doesn't like Kai's, or maybe he's just trying to prove with what he said afterwards as well about the pound for pound spots that he should be in that ranking. He said the only person that should be above him is Islam. I mean, Illia has obviously got a lot to say in this debate now as well. I'm not big on the pound for pound like debate. I think it's hard to judge. I always kind of judge it off longevity, which I don't even know if that's right or not, to tell you the truth. But when you're talking Islam, Pantoja, now you're talking Illia, obviously the heavyweight champ has got to be in there, because let's be honest, he'd kill anyone on the roster just from size alone. When it's that, when it's technical as Tom Aspinall, usually a heavyweight champ isn't as technical, the brute force, the big, but Tom's got it all. So the pound for pound debate's a bit of an interesting one from Pantoja, but he's definitely up there. And I think maybe that's why he's got that point to prove. Maybe that's why he comes out like a bat out of hell, because he's like, look, I'm top of the mantelpiece. I'm the champ. I'm the boy. I'm the man. Bring anyone on. And when he squared off with Joshua Van after it, you'd almost seen that switching him, because he was complimenting Joshua Van. He said, look, he said he's an up and coming humble guy, or something along them lines. But he's very good. He's a good challenge. And then you see them square off, and you see the face change from the pair of them. You see like almost that fighter ego kick in, where it's like, no, look, I'm coming for you. Joshua Van's obviously saying, I'm coming for you. Pantoja's saying, look, you're not knocking me off this mantelpiece. I'm I'm the main man in this weight in the UFC in the pound for pound list. So one hell of a fight. Very intrigued to see when it's announced and where it's announced as well. Imagine it was a double headliner. Pantoja against Van, Illia against Paddy. It'd be that'd be a big one. So obviously, yeah, moving into the main event now. Illia against Charles. We did get a bet up. We had Illia to win by KO/TKO. It felt wrong even putting it on because I didn't want to see Charles get knocked out, but I felt like Charles' style was tailor made for Illia because Charles gets hit by everyone. You know, he is elite, but he does get hit a lot by a lot of people. And a lot of people that aren't as good as Illia. You know, Michael Chandler had him in trouble. Poirier had him in trouble. Gaethje had him in trouble. Everyone who he's fought has had him in trouble at some point from punches as well. And I thought Illia's going to find that chin, man. Illia is elite. It's scary, and I'm going to make a completely separate video talking about Illia in detail. But it is actually scary of the comparisons between Illia and Conor on the rise when Conor was at featherweight and then moved up to welterweight. Even the finish, like, I mean, you know, maybe I'm looking into this too much, but he put him down. He was already out. You know, this Brazilian that's been in the UFC forever, that kind of thing. Puts him down, knocks him out, and it hits him with two hammer fists, the same way Conor did Aldo. I know Aldo was at featherweight, Charles at lightweight, but just every similarity, it's almost scary sometimes, the comparison. And obviously, I think Illia's taken a lot from Conor. You know, he's saying about the rest of balls on the ice off at the Paddy, which Conor had said to Chad Mendes in the past and stuff like that. But I do think the comparisons are scary, but just focusing on Illia and what he's achieved at the minute, but, you know, not talking about Paddy, not talking about Conor. Another 2-weight world champion in the UFC, obviously not at the same time. It's one hell of an achievement because I think lightweight now is going to be on notice of Illia. You know, I think people were a bit unsure. They felt like maybe the size difference, the weight difference might make a big difference. But say what you want, he's just come in and knocked out Charles Oliveira like nobody's knocked him out before. He put him out cold in round one. He put a beating on him. Charles tried to take him down. Illia reversed it. There was the slight heel hook that he might have had at one point, but it didn't ever really look close anyway. Other than that, you know, it didn't look close for me. The whole, you know, for as long as it lasted, what did it actually last? It was a couple of minutes, wasn't it? 2 minutes 27 seconds. For the whole 2 minutes and 27 seconds, it looked to me like a matter of time before Illia got him, because Illia come out confident and fast. Charles started nice with the leg kicks, but it just didn't deter Illia at all. He was still standing there in boxing range, throwing combinations. And for me, I was looking at it thinking, this isn't an ammo for Charles. I just felt it. I think it definitely puts people on notice in that division. You know, there might have been some people wanting that fight, or maybe there was a sneaky way Dustin might have stayed around for. I don't know. He seems pretty set on retiring, but I had in my head maybe Dustin against Illia for the belts potentially if Dustin gets the win over Max and stuff like that. But you know, I don't think realistically. I think there's a lot of people now that'll be running from Illia. You know, they won't want any part of it. They like someone else to be champ, for them to fight. One person that isn't running from him, however, and is actually running into the cage to square off for him, is our mate Paddy the Body. So, I mean, before the fight, when I seen Paddy there, like I said earlier in the video, my initial thought was, if Moicano wins, that's a nice fight. And then I was thinking, you know, Illia is obviously the main event. Is there a way that these are going to face off here? And that's the reason why Paddy is kind of there. And I'll be honest, I kind of persuaded myself no. Like, I thought, no, he needs one more fight. Like, he said it, Illia said it. I think Dana might have alluded to it in the past that, like, Paddy's going to get, like, a title eliminator kind of thing. And obviously, when it happened and Joe Rogan brought it up, I was like, oh my God, Paddy could have just walked his way into it, into a title fight here and kind of jumped the queue a little bit. Now, Dana threw a little bit of water on it after it, but he didn't say he's not next. He just said if he was there, he wouldn't have allowed Paddy in the cage to face off because Illia's family was there, his kid was there, his wife was there and things like that. But he never said Paddy's not next. And then he actually went on to say about Gaethje that it's a little bit wacky that he's saying he's only fighting if it's for the title. who I did assume Gaethje was next, to be honest with you. So that kind of said to me that Dana is entertaining this idea of Paddy being next, and Ilya definitely wants it. He said after in the press conference, he was very excited, and it looked like he was going to go back on it a little bit. But I think Ilya felt like the UFC didn't necessarily want Paddy next, but because he'd been told that like Dana weren't happy with how it happened and stuff. But he said multiple times since, in different interviews, he wants Paddy next. Obviously, Paddy wants Ilya. Is there a bigger fight in the UFC right now other than that? And I'm saying that obviously with the fallout of Jones v Aspinall, that was the biggest fight by far. I know Chael was saying it was getting smaller, but let's be honest, it was the biggest. It was going to be absolutely huge if the UFC could have pulled that off. And for as much as I love Tom Aspinall, I don't think his next fight has got that same sting as Jones v Aspinall or as Paddy versus Ilya. Islam versus Jack Della Maddalena is a big fight as well. Very, very big. But I just think because of the spite with Ilya and Paddy, and because in particular of Ilya's last three fights, he's gone through a killer's row, and he's just killed legend after legend after legend. I'm of the opinion that that's the best three-fight run in UFC history. Volk, Max, and Charles, all by KO, by the way. And I'm not saying TK, I mean KO. They were out. Even if it was just for a couple of seconds, they were. If the referee weren't there, they could have died. Like, that's how much Ilya put them out cold. And the way Charles fell, man, it was mad. It was crazy to see. It kind of reminded me when Dustin fought Gaethje the second time and Gaethje head kicked him, and the way Dustin fell, and you knew he was out, and it was like you hadn't seen Poirier be limp like that for a long, long time. It was like that with Charles when he fell. I thought, oh my God, he's out already. And you hadn't seen him like that for a long time. And he's fought the Curry, he fought the Justin Gaethje, he fought the Dustin Poirier. These big hitters at 55, he's fought them. And he didn't put him out. Ilya did at 45 and moving up. It's just, it's testament to it, but it's also, it adds to that three-fight win streak, the fact that he put them out so cold and he done exactly what he said he's going to do. And I think all of that leading into it makes this fight massive because obviously you're looking, Ilya now, for me, is the face of the UFC. Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall are very close. And Alex Pereira, probably if he was still champion, you'd be saying, it's him and Ilya. And it probably is him and Ilya, to be honest with you. But right now, with the recency bias, with what Ilya has done, you feel like Ilya is the face of the UFC right now. Islam might come back and win. If Islam wins a belt at 170 and looks amazing, then all of a sudden he's up there as well. But I'm talking right now at this second with what Ilya has done and just fresh off the back of his fight. So he's the problem to solve. He's unbeaten. We've never had an unbeaten double champion at featherweight and lightweight. I don't think there's ever been an unbeaten double champion anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong with that in the comments. But that again, it just adds to this mystique of how good is he. And like I said, I'm gonna make a video completely about Ilya separate, but it does make that how good is he. Now, Paddy, a lot of people say he's hype. A lot of people say, he's getting better and things like that. Say what you want about him. He is a superstar. He is tearing up the rankings. He is making his way up there. People are saying he's had favourable matchups. Look, that he's fought lower caliber people when he started. He started to increase the the actual level of the people that he's fighting. Last fight against Michael Chandler, he looked very good. He put a beating on him. Not many people had ever seen Michael Chandler take. Finished him, you know what I mean? Not a lot of people thought that he would. And if you'd ask me truthfully what I want to see next, for Paddy's development, I'd like to see him have one more. But for hype, the biggest fight in the UFC, all that other side with the entertainment value, I want to see Paddy beat Ilya because I don't think there's a fight right now bigger in the UFC, I'll be honest, because they really do not like each other. And I know we fist pumped that at the London press conference or whatever, but let's be honest, they don't like each other. That's just what I'm saying. You see when Paddy got in the cage, he was like, kind of like, look, we'll be professional, but you're not knocking me out. And you can see that Ilya does not like Paddy. I'd probably say Ilya doesn't like Paddy more than Paddy doesn't like Ilya. But either way, they don't like each other. And they both know for a fact that it'll be the biggest fight in the UFC if they make it right now. So that's what I want to see next. As a biased, Paddy went to our school kind of guy. I want to see him fight Ilya next for the belt, and whatever it is, we'll be there. Ilya said he might be ready at the end of the year. Obviously, Paddy, I'm assuming will be ready for the end of the year if he's not injured because he fought, what was it, about 5, 6 weeks ago, something like that, maybe not even that long. He's been having a bit of travel, he's been away a good few times. He's in the States at the minute. I know he's doing a bit of training, but he's doing media obligations, international fight week obligations, a few little business things that he said he's got going on. So, if he gets into a training camp now, there's no reason why he can't be ready towards the end of the year. Illia's going to have a few, probably a few weeks off, maybe a month off or something, and then get into a camp if he wants to fight the end of the year. So we could be seeing that. End of the year, I haven't actually looked, but usually there's a late Vegas card pay-per-view, which it'd definitely be a pay-per-view event. That'd be a nice one. It's usually just before or just after Christmas, in it. Sometimes it's either or. 1 year there was actually the New Year's Eve card, wasn't he? Well, that was years ago. But point being, there's opportunity to make that fight, and I think with the fallout of Jones, the Aspinall, the UFC is looking for a big fight, and what a card to follow that fallout, by the way, because you've got a breakout star now in Joshua Van. Obviously, not a breakout star, but you've got an even bigger star in Illia with a lot of challenges. Paddy was there making noise. Tom was there, cage side. Obviously, he's going to have a big fight coming up. Like I said, I don't think it's quite got the sting, but at the end of the day, if the heavyweight championship's on the line in the UFC, everybody's going to be watching it. You had Izzy and Usman, the like of them there. They can get big fights. I don't know necessarily if the pay-per-view headliners anymore, but they can be co-main events on pay-per-views or on pay-per-views and like the people's main event slot and things like that. There is a lot going on. There is definitely a lot going on in the UFC right now. I'm still, waiting on Dricus and Hamzat as well. So I think it's exciting again to be a fan of the UFC. And the reason why I say UFC separate to MMA, because I feel like it is separate to MMA. It's meant to be the creme de la creme, and at times this year it hasn't felt like it. It's felt a little bit like it's in decline. And who knows, one card doesn't solve all these problems, but all of a sudden there's a few breakout stars, there's a few exciting things coming up, there's a few very, very intriguing matchups coming up, and fights coming up that we can definitely get behind. So that's what I feel is next. I'd like to see Illia v Paddy, I'd like to see Pantoja v Van, and I'd like to see them on the same card. Illia Paddy main, Pantoja v Van co-main, end of the year, Las Vegas, pay-per-view, book the flights, let's go. So thanks everyone for watching. Please let me know if you think I'm chatting absolute bollocks in the comments. If you agree with me, let me know. Who do you think next for Illia? Do you like the Van v Pantoja fight? Do you agree with the Dariush claims from me, Gaethje, stuff like that? Let me know down below. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.